Hi everyone, welcome to our live stream tonight. This is about dance and how dance can be so beneficial to our mental health, building connections with people and confidence as well. So this is a really special conversation for me, something that's close to my heart and close to the heart of my two guests as well. So I've got Katie Holland, who has made her life work around dance and well-being, and she's got some amazing stories to tell. And I've got Kimberly Fung, who is a therapist and a lifelong student of dance, very similar to myself, Sarah Haskett, who is also a student of dance and a CBT therapist. So we're just going to do a real open discussion tonight about this, because we just felt that it was a really important topic and something that we wanted to share with you guys, and just really kind of get this out in the open and talk about it and celebrate dance for everything that it does for us. So to start us off, I thought I'll bring Katie in. And perhaps you could tell us a bit about what first inspired you, and what you found over your work, how it's helped people, women and men. And that's massive. That's a massive question. You can pigeonhole that however you choose.
Okay. Well, I can start off for myself. It was really simple. When I was 3, I started learning ballet and tap and modern, and growing up in England, like most small children do. And over the years in my childhood, I realised that when I went to dance, or me and my sister were always making up dances and doing shows, and in the garden and this kind of thing, and I equated feeling happy and feeling good with dancing. So that was a really simplistic child kind of understanding of I feel good when I go to dance, and really it just grew from there, I guess, because I was following that feeling and really loving going to dance classes. And then when I began to teach Egyptian dance, the women who were coming to my class were also speaking about similar things. Over the years, I would get to know them, and I'd know about their family, about their relationships and everything. And it came to that same equation, that they came to dance class because they felt good, they could be with other women, they could have fun, and it was a bit of a relief from maybe something that was going on at home or in their job, or in life generally. So it was dance equals fun and happiness.
Yes, yeah, so agree with that. Yeah, and I think, and I relate to that on a real personal level as well. For me, it was the same. I started dancing at a young age, and it was always just a time when I could be free and just kind of feel the music and feel quite free with how I was in that moment, and building friendships. And just sort of talking, and at the moment we're all doing classes online, aren't we? So it's a bit different. But I used to find that going to class, even as an adult, that kind of just being friends with people and just sort of touching base with everyone and saying hello and having a laugh. It's so it means so much.
Definitely. And then having that part of the wardrobe that is they're my going to dance class clothes.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
And that would be that moment in the week where you'd put those particular clothes on and be, okay, I'm ready to dance now.
Yeah. What about you, Kimberly? What's your thoughts on sort of how you found
Yeah, I
dance?
mean, it's the same as Katie. Growing up, I grew up in Trinidad, and I didn't have opportunities to take dance classes as a little girl, but in my village there was music everywhere you would go. And so if my house wasn't playing music, the neighbor's house had music on really loud, and we would go to, you know, the neighbors' parties, and you know, we had a lot of Indo-Caribbean type music, so chutney, soca music, and a lot of it is very hip, sort of moving.
Yeah.
And so I would go to the parties and watch people dance and study their hips. House had music on. I was sort of like 7, and I was sort of at the height level of everyone's hips in terms of that. So it was just very much right in my face. And I just would say to myself, wow, that's amazing. You know, I want to learn how to do that. And it just is fascination with, I think for me, how the body reacts to music, and how people feel something and react to it through the use of their body. And just as I got older, it just sort of like how KT just progressed into wanting to feel good and wanting to find an outlet, and that's just why I've always stayed with dancing, because it's just always it's just been a long journey, really, of discovery.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. So it must have been quite a different culture to how it is here in England, and when you were growing up, because I know in the Caribbean music's everywhere, isn't it, in the carnival, and it's a real big part of culture.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's another reason why, for me, when I moved to the States as a teenager, Bellydance really connected with me, because you know, you're barefoot, you're on the ground. I felt really sort of, you know, earthbound, and it just had, you know, a lot of drumming, you know, all of that. It was just really similar for me. So I just it was just an extension of something that I started to love as a kid. So and it just grew. And I mean, now I'm more into fusion stuff, but that's kind of how it all started out. And I just think for me, without dance, there would just be a lot of paralysis in my life. You know, you know, when you have moments where, especially during the pandemic, where it's like, it's just been a rough day, and sometimes you don't even feel like you want to move or get up. I just put the music on, and it just, something gets you going, and it never fails. Every time I do that, you know, it always it helps me get into a better place. Yeah,
I feel that too, definitely. There's something about rhythm and that beat that just feels so, like, it's so natural, isn't it?
Mm. I always think of it from when we're in the womb, and we can hear the outside noises, but the main thing that we can hear is the rhythm of our mum's heartbeat. So we have that pulse, and it's like the pulse of the earth is going through us for 9 months, and it's almost like that rhythm is then ingrained into our bodies, so that when we hear drums or some kind of music, or mantras or different things, there's something that we know about it already, because it's already within us, and so our bodies are then reacting to it.
Yeah, and we made music, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago too, didn't we? So there's something very natural about it. Like you say, there's what we hear in the womb, the rhythm of the heartbeat and everything, and then, you know, then there was like the way that we would communicate, you know, and we, in our hundreds of years ago, when we used to make music as a form of communication, as maybe, you know, a battle sound as well, going into battle, we would make music. We would make music to, you know, to celebrate. We would make music for so many different reasons, for kind of celebrational things, for rituals, you know, for traditional sort of sacred celebrations, all sorts of different reasons, and dance will be part of that.
Yeah, and it's really pre-language or pre-organized language. So when we make those sounds, it's accessing something that's more primitive and more emotional. So it's almost more true in a way, because when we speak, we can bypass things and we can trick ourselves, and we can trick others as well in the words that we say, and create masks. But when your body is really just allowing your body to move to sound, and allowing the sounds to express through you, it's like your deepest level of truth, that it's like your soul is expressing its own truth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With what you're saying, Katie, I was thinking about it in the idea that we live. I think a lot of us live lives where everything is very logical. Like in order to get to work, I have to brush my teeth. I have to put clothes on. If I don't do A, then I can't do B, which I can't do C. And when you live this very logical sort of linear sort of life, sometimes it's just nice to have a break from that linearity. And I think that's what dance offers. It offers this breakup, and it gives you the sense of just letting go of this idea that, there's no rules in the way you move, or when it comes to any kind of art form. And that's what I love about it, is it allows you to sort of break off from that logical way of being most of the time, every day,
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that before, about how it's quite I thought about it being quite a primal thing, that it comes from something very natural, but I've never really considered how the way we live today is very kind of linear. Like you say, we go from one thing to the next, we can put on that mask, we can hide what's going on. But when we dance, when we move our body, and when we're in tune with a rhythm, there's no lying to that. We're feeling.
Yeah, and especially if you're performing, you're completely open. You can't hide, and you can't choreograph the emotions authentically. You can kind of put choreographed emotions in, but it's different to when that flow is just there, and you're just really allowing all parts of your brain to integrate, because it's this linearity, it's almost like we're in these boxes that we've created for ourselves, and we can't go out of that box. And even with dance classes, if we're really focused on the technique and it right, and the choreography, we're still in this linear mode of wanting to be perfect, and you want to look in a certain way, and people, I think, get quite scared of stepping out of that, and just expressing and allowing their body to move, because they're worried that they're going to get it wrong, or they're going to look silly or something like that. And I feel that it's really important to have both, so that you need to do that choreographic and very strict way. You can do that and be that, and at the same time, if you are in a situation to completely let go, you can also do that, and then that's where you get the balance.
Balance is so important. I say that almost every day in my therapy clinic. I talk about balance. People often think that being positive or thinking positively is just about dismissing the badness in the world, and it's not really. It's about putting it in balance and saying, okay, these things are difficult, this is challenging, but I've also been able to do these things, and I've got these strengths, and it's kind of weighing that up, and that incorporates a sense of coping. And what you were saying kind of sounds familiar to that when we get bogged down in having to do everything right, all the time, and that comes up so much with people. Like, we have to do this right, we can't make a mistake, we have to look all right, we have to be what we think people want us to be. And it's so, it is restrictive, it is like a cage, we are putting ourselves in a box. And it's all right to sometimes do those things, because we do want to conform, we don't want to be completely off the rails, so we need to conform, but we need the balance, and we need that time when actually we say it's all right just to let go. It's all right to make a mistake. Actually, it's okay to do something that's just a bit, you know, a bit kind of just feeling what you want to do.
Yeah, I always recommend, say in the supermarket when there's some music on and you're in there shopping, just dance in the aisle and just go for it. And my daughter's always saying, just stop it, stop it. I'm like, why? Like, I want to dance to this song and it's making my body move. I'm not telling my body move. The music is moving me. And I do it all the time in the street or on the train station, anywhere. And so if I get that feeling, then I just do it, and it's okay.
Yeah, and also I think it's, at least for me, I think it's a long lifetime lesson that I still, even till this day, haven't been able to get over. I'm always thinking about, you know, what is someone else thinking? What is, you know, I'm always concerned about, is this right? Is this wrong? And it's just a journey again that I know that I just need to take ownership of, and just say, you know, this is who I am. And especially when it comes to belly dance, I feel like the nature of belly dance is very much about pleasing the male eye, you know, maybe more so compared to maybe other dances. And there's this like the sense of like, am I doing this in the right way to please someone else? And I feel like now in my you know, studies of dancing, I've just started to look a little bit away from that and think about, what is it doing for me, instead of what is it doing for, because I think when I process that in the right way, the audience will feel it too, you know?
Yeah.
Actually, when you're doing it for you, you're giving more, you're giving more of yourself, and that's then better for others, probably.
Yeah, you're going to be more comfortable in your own self, aren't you, when you dance in that way, because you're doing it for you. It's for your enjoyment primarily, and if others enjoy it, then it's okay, and if they don't enjoy it, it's also okay. But the main thing is you're enjoying it.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I don't know what our audience is like today, but you know, I know that we are all dancers here, but maybe the people listening aren't dancers. And you know, I just you know, just like what you were saying, Katie, you don't have to be someone that knows how to do any kind of dance. It's dance is a word we use, but at the end of the day, it's just movement, and it's just your body feeling something and reacting to it. And if it makes you feel good, then hey, good, go for it. It doesn't matter where you are. And if you get to share that, you know, I have 3 kids, and I don't show them, maybe my daughter a little bit, but dance, I don't show them this is the way to dance, or this is not a nice way to dance. I just let them dance, and we just boogie down, and we just put music on, and we go crazy, and the kids just, I mean, you know, from ever since they were little kids, and I'm sure lots of kids are like this, when they hear music, their bodies just naturally just want to move, you know? And so if you're listening, you know, I just feel like, you know, maybe you don't have to think that you have to go and take a class in order to experience us, you know, dancing in that way. You just have to move.
Yeah, and also I think because there's a science called epigenetics, and it's really amazing, and it's all about how we store and hold emotions in our body and experiences, and not only our own but also from our ancestors. So in a way that's within our DNA and within our cells. So sometimes there might be a way that you feel, or it could be a posture that you have in your body, or a pain or something, and it might not actually even belong to you. Your body is just holding it for great on whoever. So with movement, a lot of the ways that I work is that you don't have to know the story. You can just think, oh, you know, I always have this ache in my shoulder when I wake up in the morning, and then just say, okay, shoulder, what's going on? Like, what is this? And then maybe putting some music on, or it can be in silence, and just closing your eyes and letting your shoulder move to express that ache or that pain that it has there. And then your body has this way to unravel itself and unwind from these old things, old stories that mostly don't actually belong to us. And this is really powerful just to do for a few minutes each morning, and think, okay, what's going on? You know, I feel like this here. Oh yeah, I just let myself like wriggle in that way, or shake, and yeah, and let your body release it for itself, because our bodies are so clever.
Yeah.
They know what to do.
Yeah, it's and you know, actually it took me a long time to even realize that it was something that I was doing. But to what you were saying, Katie, about holding things, because I realize it's not just a cognitive thing. Like if you're stressed out, a lot of people think I'm stressed out in my head. It's something that's going on in my head. And a lot of times it can be very much what you're saying, Katie, very much a physiological response as well. And a lot of people do it in their jaws. They hold tension in their jaws. You know, I get it in my chest. I this tightness in my chest, and people, they think it's almost normal to feel that way, or they don't realize it's happening. And they just sort of think, oh, I'm just tired, or I'm just, but it's almost learning to become aware of this tension that come into play when you are feeling stressed, or you may have experienced trauma and things like that. That it's not just something that is going on cognitively, but something also that can be held in the body as well. And like how you say, Katie, with music, with breath work, that you can help release that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thinking of the body, the feeling in the body, the pain or the dis-ease, it's almost like it's the end of the line, because the body is expressing what's happening, like you say, from trauma, from stress, from heartbreak, for whatever emotion it is that we're carrying, and holding on to it so strongly, and maybe for a length of time, it then starts to show up in the body as pain, and it's going back into what came before that, and so to the root of it, rather than the body is showing the symptom, which is then often what is treated, but it isn't actually getting to, well, what came before that.
Feeling free, being able to notice your body is what you're saying, isn't it? Kind of just sort of checking in and saying, okay, what's my body doing right now, and what do I feel like I need, and just kind of listening to that. Yeah, because we are just one being, aren't we? We're a mind and we're a body, but we are just one.
Yeah, there's this saying by this theorist, Murray Bowen, and he's a family systems theorist, and he always said this, and it always stuck with me. And he says that a little bit of schizophrenia in all of us. And I really love that, because I just feel like I have so much family, I have so many friends that think that mental health is something that you either inherit from some grandmother, or it's something you pick up like a virus, or you're just crazy. But at the end of the day, mental health is in every one of us, just like how we have a cardiovascular system. It's a system in itself, and we all have a mental health. It's not something that you just get or inherit from something else. And I think for a lot of people, they think, well, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't have a mental health issue. And I feel like sometimes a lot of people need to realize that we all have mental health. It's something that is in all of us. I just feel like the word mental health has such a bad stigma to it. When you say mental health, you think, oh, depressed, she's schizophrenic, it kind of has this really negative label. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just really wanted to kind of get this idea out that it's just a term that is just talking about the health of your mental well-being. That's all it is.
Yeah, definitely. And that is one of the key themes that run through the Good Mental Health Cooperative, which is our charity we're promoting over this festival of live streams. And the reason it was called the Good Mental Health Cooperative is because everyone has mental health, and what we're promoting is good mental health, because we all have it. So yeah, what you're saying there, totally, I completely agree, 100%. We all have mental health, just like we all have physical health, and looking after our mental health is just as important.
That's why I really liked it, because you called it mental wealth, and it's like it's flipping it over, and it makes me think of a treasure chest, and what's inside this treasure chest of wealth that I can explore.
Yes, So the Mental Wealth Academy was like some courses that we put on, and then we also do an open discussion, like a mental wealth trialogue. And the idea with that is that everyone has their own wealth of ideas and experiences around their mental health, around others' mental health, around the world's health, and we can bring that into the mix. Everyone's opinion, everyone's ideas, everyone's experiences are all equally as valid, and it's a wealth of knowledge. We often leave mental health workers as a kind of hierarchy of in a society. We think that people know more, but actually we're all people. And we all know equally as much about our own mental health. So yeah, it's so important. And just that idea of connections with people as well. I think one of the thing that kind of span off from that with this festival was talking about how creativity brings us connections, and how that is part of who we are and what we need as humans. Building those connections with people. Like I know both of you too through different forms of creativity, so dance and I think through drama as well. So we've all made these connections through the things that we do and the things that we love, and it's all about sort of bringing that together and just sort of celebrating that, and how dance can really bring people together, how anything creative can bring people together.
Yeah, and also that it's okay to not be okay, because we're so conditioned to be stoic and to be strong and the hero, but actually it's fine to be vulnerable and to ask for help and to nurture ourselves, put ourselves first, because if we're not nurturing us, how can we give to others? We need to receive first, so that our cup is full, and that we can then share that cup with others. And I think there's a lot of conditioning around that if you put yourself first, that you're selfish, or if you're vulnerable, then it means you're weak or you're failed, or and so that causes so many more problems, because people are just pushing it all inside, and they're just not expressing what's needed in that moment. And whereas if they were able to do that and just say, oh, yeah, I really need some help right now, you know, this is happening and I need some support, then it would be finished. But instead it just escalates, and then I feel that people just become completely alone, and they feel that they can't ask, and they can't share what's happening with them, because then it turns into this shame, and that they don't fit in with society. And so there's so many layers to it. Whereas if we could just be and have that authenticity in what's happening for us, then yeah, things would be a lot simpler, and also it would build much stronger networks with people within society as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it is really hard, I think, for people to sometimes say it's okay to not be okay. I think that's just a hard one. It's hard, especially I think when you're playing, if you're the parent in a family or a single parent that's working, and you have to show to your boss or your children or whoever it is that you're in control, that you have it together. Sometimes it's hard to say I'm not okay. Who am I going to say that to? Can I say that to my boss? Can I say that to my kids? I have to show them that I'm getting through this. But there's that vulnerability is probably one of the first stepping stones into looking after yourself, is actually just saying, I'm not okay, and it's okay. It seems like a really simple thing, but it's a lot harder, to do, isn't it?
Yeah. And to find that space, that might be within the dance class, or just putting on some music and listening, and then just finding that space where you can just be and let that go and just get that out. And maybe and okay, there might be situations where it's harder to do that, like for instance with your boss or in a meeting, there's still expectations to meet. But when you're feeling the music, or when you're with your friends who you dance with, and you can be open, you can just say, look, I'm having a really crap day, I've had a crap day, and you just do your thing, and you can let that go, and you can feel, come back to like feeling the body and noticing.
Yeah, but imagine if your boss was also able to be vulnerable in that way, or the policewoman that you speak to who's giving you a parking ticket, and she can be vulnerable. And if everybody at every level was able to do that, then society would be transformed, because the hierarchy wouldn't be there to have to put on this brave face to your boss or to your kids, and it would transform everything, because people would just drop the masks and be true. Why is it so difficult, or why are we being restricted in being in our truth? This is really a question for what's happening, and why why aren't we allowing ourselves to be true?
Yeah, I really hear that. Because if we were able to do that more as a society, and not have this huge stigma of not being able to make mistakes, having to do the right things, having to be strong all the time, and just say, actually, I don't know what to say here, or I don't quite know what to do, or I'm feeling anxious, I'm nervous about this, I'm unsure, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Just to be able to say that, and it be okay, and I think when people do actually do that, it's greeted in a good way. I find when I've done that, even if I am in a position of some level of authority, if I have done that, it's been greeted in a real positive light. So I think we can change that. It's just for some reason we've developed this way, but we can change that. I think there's space to.
Well, I think, Sarah, what you're saying also is, if you can do it, then you are putting it out there that, okay, if Sarah can do this, then I can do it too, right? It has to start somewhere. You have to get the ball rolling somewhere, right? So I saw Sarah say this, and I saw her become so vulnerable. And I realize now that I can do that too. And I think that's just how it starts. It would be amazing if everyone could do that. I think it has to start from somewhere. And I think when you can have the courage to stand in your own apartness and take ownership of yourself and say, this is not easy for me, but I'm going to be honest about how I feel. You become, it takes a lot of guts to do that. But I just feel like I read this book by I think it's Toko Pa Turner, and she talks about the idea of belonging. And sometimes you feel so much compelled to be part of something that you don't want to non-conform. But sometimes when you non-conform and you step out of that is when you become who you truly are. And when you stay in that box, you don't ever become the person that you were meant to be. And only when you stand by yourself, and those tend to be the artists, the entrepreneurs, the people that are the creative beings. Those are the ones that think on their own. And I would say the three of us probably might fall into that category. And maybe we are the ones that it might be easier to stand on your own 2 feet, and to sort of get that ball rolling where you stand and say, I can do this. And therefore maybe someone else can follow that path as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you're saying about how much courage it takes, there's a real strength and vulnerability when, there's a fine line between going into more of being a victim and then you're just crushing yourself. But when you have that truth in your vulnerability and come back with it as a strength, and then others feel and see that strength as well, when you can transform that and move forward from whatever's happening for you. And that, I think, is one of the most powerful things and courageous things, like you said, Kimberly, to be vulnerable and and it just always comes back to the being true.
Yeah. Just and that, I think, that sense of belonging is a really powerful. It's a really powerful thing that we do want to be part of something, but equally, and making connections and being with people is important, but equally standing out to say, I'm a bit different is important too. And it being okay to be different. because actually we're all different in some way. Yeah, yeah. Very thought provoking. There was that. There was a couple of comments on the Facebook about choreographing emotions,
Okay.
which Mala is saying a good choreographer, when you start from an improvisation and use the emotion as a starting point to arrive at choreographing. She says she thinks that you can choreograph that emotion. And then she goes on to say, you are doing a performance for an audience, especially paid audience. You do need to think about your audience. That's a fair comment. But if you are dancing for yourself as a personal practice for fun or for healing, then it's for you. Yeah. There's a distinction between the two. Otherwise, you can be self-indulgent in performing for the audience, which is disrespectful to the audience. So that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I think for me, I think of it as when I'm really dancing for myself, for my enjoyment, I'm dancing from my heart space, and then from my heart, that's what's being projected into the audience. So no matter what the music, what flavor it is or what emotion it is, that emotion in the music is also going to move my heart, because I'm connecting to it through my heart. And then as the music is affecting my heart, that is going to affect my movements in my body. And then I don't need to choreograph the emotion, because it's naturally emanating from me. And that could be if it's a cheeky drum solo, or it's a, you know, kind of very internal ballady or something. Yeah, the emotions are naturally coming because it's from a heart space. That's my perspective on it. But there's lots of ways that you can think about it and come at it from.
Yeah, I'm the same, Katie. I even if I were to try to choreograph an emotion on the day, if something horrible happened right before my performance and I just was feeling not great, that even as much I could choreograph my emotions as much as I want and practice that on the day when the time comes, I can't guarantee that that's what is going to come out of me, you know. So like how you say, it's something that is in real time. There's no way that this is something that can be pre-recorded and then replayed in a very robotic way at all.
Yeah, and in the same way, I think if you've had a terrible day, and then say for me and performing some funky Bollywood, just by performing that, it transforms my mood and my emotions again, because it's drawing me out of that terrible day that I've had, and it's shifting my emotions, and I can connect with music. So even though I've had maybe something's happening and I'm stressed or I'm upset or something, but because of the way that the music moves me and the lyrics, I can still access that cheekiness or whatever that expression needs to be, pouting or whatever that I always seem to do.
Yeah, it's interesting because you know, I've done some acting and I do some dancing, and I see that there are elements of acting in amongst dancing that we think about, perhaps what your face might look like at a certain point in the dance, maybe if you're choreographing something for an audience, and there is that same kind of interaction with the audience that you might have as an actor, but it's also very different. So I think when I'm acting, I become someone else. and I'm playing a part, I'm playing a role, I'm a character. It's more of an escape. It's me transforming into something else. But when I'm dancing, I'm me, and I'm feeling the music, and I'm playing off the music, and it's meaning, and that's meaningful. Like you were saying, it's sort of more internal. It's more about how you're feeling. It's, you referred to it as your heart space, and I think that's the difference. So when I'm acting, I'm someone else, but when I'm dancing, it's coming from here. So while there's links, and yes, we do a bit of acting on the stage, it's a different feel. It's something different for me anyway.
Do you think as well, from the quote that Kimberly said earlier about the schizophrenia, that we all have this part of us? So do you think that when you're acting, that those roles that you play, they're still a part of you, even though it doesn't feel, you feel like you're playing a part, but actually you've chosen that part because it is a part of you, and it's having an avenue to show herself or himself?
Yeah, there is something about that, because when you really play a part, especially an emotional part, you have to put yourself right in that headspace and believe it. Because if you don't believe it, you're not going to play off a very realistic acting role. You know, you really have to believe it, especially if like it's a crying scene or something, you know, really emotional. Anger is much easier. Anger you can I think tap into much easier than crying or upset. And so yeah, there's almost has to be an ability to have a slight kind of to have that personality, to really believe it, which is kind of delusional in a sense. You know, in order to act, you have to be a little bit delusional. Because you have to believe the thing that's not real.
It's that crossing over again, isn't it? Into that non-linear way of thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it, you know, and it's true, Katie. I just think that when you dance, that's one of the great things about dancing that maybe other people can connect with more. You could probably do it with art as well, like painting and stuff, but I think with dance, because it's something everyone can do, people can relate to it more. But when you dance, you can become aggressive, you can become, you know, very soft, and you know, and you get to play something. Like, for example, you know, I think most people know me and they tend to see a very quiet person, and you know, when I go on stage or when I dance, I feel like I can be something completely different, and I do feel like it is still something that is me, but it's just a part of me that I very rarely ever get to share, because if I was to do that in public in a regular setting, people would think I was crazy. So that's what I love about dance, is that it allows you to do something and that is just so against the grain in some sort of a way, and it's actually acceptable.
Yeah.
It's funny dichotomy, isn't it? Of it has its place to be acceptable and its place where you'd be considered crazy, like dancing in the supermarket.
But but it's okay to dance on the stage. That's okay, but not in the supermarket. Yeah, why is that? Yeah, it's just some kind of construct we've made up, isn't it? Yeah. Well,
yeah,
sorry, go on.
It's just now I was just thinking about like all of the dominant discourses that we set ourselves up, and we sometimes as parents set our children up in life, and you know, down to gender, you know, like what you should be doing or how you should be dressing, and you know, all of these things are just dominant discourses that we set up and have been cultured into by where we live and things like that. And a lot of it, sometimes when I work with clients, they tell you these things, and then when you ask them about, well, how does this fit? Is it because your neighbor is doing that? Why you feel you should be doing that as well? Because you're not doing what they're doing, you feel like you're not, and it's sort of like getting your clients to, when I work with clients, getting them to see that this is just societal norms, but what is that? Are you okay with that? Did you sign up for that? Did you sign up to follow the unsaid rules of society? Did I sign up for that? I don't know. I don't remember signing anything, but for some reason I feel like I have to follow them. And that's the thing is a lot of people live their whole lives never questioning these unsaid things, these unsaid rules, and then feeling like if they do break them, or if they do these things, that they're somehow going to be rejected. And and so that's sometimes one of the first things that I talk about with clients is this idea of because it's sometimes that it's just breaking that and getting people to see outside of that can really make a huge difference.
I totally agree, and that's something that often comes up in my work as well. People feeling that they haven't done enough in life, or they're not following the right path, or and worrying about that other people are doing some, they're not married yet, or various different things. But then often when we dig into that, and I might ask, well, so would you think this of somebody else? What would you think of somebody else that hadn't achieved these things, or weren't quite working in line with these constructs? And people are okay with it. They say, well, no, that would be fine, as long as they're happy. So, why is this a perceived problem for you? Like you say, we don't sign up to it. We might not even agree with it, but we still feel we have to follow it. And breaking that and kind of saying, well, actually, no, it's okay just to be who I am. It's all right that I am just as I am right now, and I'm here with my life as it is. And if I'm happy, then, this is, then it really doesn't matter what we think other people might think, because actually most of the time they're not thinking that. There's nobody really signs up to it.
Yeah, it's that conditioning from the time you're born to think a certain way, and to uncondition that is not always the easiest thing. That's a tough one.
It is, and it takes some thought and some work, and using something like dance to challenge that is quite a nice way of doing it, because there is those safe places where you can then just be you, and just feel yourself and just move with your body,
and I think the other really big word with this is acceptance. It's accepting the whole of you, and not, like you said at the beginning, about just looking at everything's light and fluffy. It's because that isn't healthy either. We need to accept all the parts, the light, the shadow, the grey in between, and then work with all of it, and really integrate ourselves through that acceptance. And rather than thinking that we should change, or we need to change and be a certain way, is actually, I'm okay as I am, and I can accept me.
Yeah, all the good and all the bad as well. That is, don't forget all the bad bits, and I think it's so easy to reject things that you think are qualities that don't belong inside of you. And when you see on social media how easy it is to to continue to reject those things because it's being bombarded by you in every way, on TV, on your social apps and stuff. It's so easy to say, no, I need to be this way. But like you said, Katie, it's owning up to that, all the good and the bad is really what makes you who you truly are. It's what makes you different.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, the bad qualities are what is going to uplift you to become a better person, or to challenge you to grow.
I often talk to people about OCD, and I feel like this really tags on to what you're saying here, because with OCD, it tends to be, it's sort of like a way the brain is working, and you can get stuck in these cycles of being quite anxious, and obviously the rituals and that can be a very difficult cycle to be stuck in. But the way that the person who has a tendency to have OCD thinks is very creative, very, very good at innovation, very good at eye for detail. They can line things up and create, whether that's with something more practical like wood, or whether it's with art. That eye for being able to see the pattern. So there's a positive and a negative. There's positives to that attribute. Those attributes in yourself, that's the way that your brain works. And there's greatness about that. And then there's some disadvantages to it. And it's just balancing that out. Saying this is what makes me who I am. And there's greatness in that, but there's problems in that too. And that's me. Yeah. So
Yeah.
And learning how to manage.
Yeah.
How to manage and balance between, so that what you perceive as a problem, you can bring it forward as a strength. Like if someone is really, really sensitive and they feel, oh, I'm too much sensitive and I feel too much, but at the same time they're going to be really empathic and very understanding of everybody, and again it's getting that balance so that know where their boundaries are, and that they're not taking on everything from everybody else, and at the same time with that they're going to be really intuitive, probably brilliant at something like Reiki or dance therapy, or this kind of thing, and they just need to get the balance in the discernment of what they're feeling.
Yeah. So you're balancing that out, and you're saying, these are my good qualities, these are my strengths, I don't want to lose them, but recognizing those difficulties and saying, okay, so how can I just manage this and balance this out, and this and in doing that, there's a sense of this just being all of me. This is just all of me. I'm the good and the bad, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like yin and yang in life. There cannot be life without death. You otherwise, if everyone stayed alive and no one died, then that would be a problem.
A crowded place, wouldn't it? I'd run out.
So I mean, with everything, if you take that and applied it to everything in life, there's always going to be that dichotomy. There's always going to be a black and a white in that sense, where good, bad. I mean, in a lot of times we use terminology. Terminology can be it's just the type of words that we do use in therapy. Sometimes we try to dispel the idea of what the word bad and good, because it makes you feel like it's either this or that. And sometimes in life, it's not about this or that. And there's a lot of gray, and no one talks about that. And people think bad is just bad, and it's not actually bad in that way. It's just the opposite of something else. So sometimes it's cutting out this narrative of using language that connotates the idea that, you know, this is bad, this is negative, or people saying these are negative thoughts. And sometimes get rid of those words and maybe just think about them as just, it is what it is. It's just a word, or it's just an idea, it's just a thought. But it may not necessarily it doesn't have to be labeled as A or B, you know?
And it doesn't have to define you in one
Mm-hmm.
in one side. You're defined
Mm-hmm.
by both, by all of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've waffled on now for a while. So it's been a great conversation. I feel like we could carry on forever. But probably worth saying, you know, that feels like a natural end for tonight. But perhaps, you know, we could do this again, because it's been a good conversation. It's been really interesting.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah, for allowing me to join and have this conversation. I really enjoyed it.
It's been brilliant to have you both. Thank you so much. And thank you guys out there watching. We've got a dance show coming up where Katie's actually going to be performing she's submitted a video, because she's not actually able to be there for the night, are you? But you've got this fantastic video that you submitted that we're going to play, and we have got other live acts happening that night, and that's going to be at 8 o'clock UK time on Friday, and then on Sunday we've got a workshop available, so a flamenco workshop. So this week's all about dance, and I'll update you about next week because my brain's gone and I can't even remember because there's so much going on. Oh, it's a film night. We've got a film night and a music night next week. So it's all about writing and music. So thanks guys for this evening. I'm going to say goodbye. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye.